sworn in judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Mr. McBride, it is your claim that the defendant assaulted you.
Yes.
The defendant says he was merely protecting his sister. So I want you to tell me how you all know each other and what precipitated this altercation with the defendant.
Well, I know everybody through Corey, who's my best friend through high school.
Through this gentleman?
Yes. I met his girlfriend at the time through...
Which is girlfriend? Raise your hand, girlfriend. Good. Your name is?
Christina.
Christina. Go ahead.
The night I got a call at work, she was getting kicked out of her house. And
Who was?
Christina. Christina was getting kicked out of her house and needed my truck to get her futon and some other items out of her house. And I went over there and...
Who was she living with at the time?
Her parents.
Okay.
And they were saying vulgar things.
Who was?
Her parents. And a green minivan pulled up, and I didn't know at the time, and he came out and was talking to me at curbside.
Who's he?
Sean.
How is he related to Christina?
My
Uncle.
You're Christina's uncle?
Yes.
Go ahead.
And he was like, you know, just stay out of this. And I'm like, I am. And her mom came out of the house and were saying things about some of my friends. So
What was she saying about some of your friends?
It was a girlfriend and her age, and saying how I have these relationships with underage girls or something. As words were getting said, you know, he did pull me to the curb talking to me. She came out...
No, you went very fast. Don't slur your words. Sorry. You are exchanging words with your sister.
Yes. Well, no.
Just a second.
Okay.
He's exchanging words with your sister, according to him.
Okay.
You pull up. Did somebody call you to come home?
Yes.
Who called you?
My nephew.
And said there's an altercation going on here, come home?
Your Honor, what happened is I called probably about 5 minutes before my nephew called. I was calling up to see, it was a Friday night, I was calling up to see what they're going to do this weekend. I was just talking to her. And all of a sudden, I hear like noises in the background, like yelling and stuff. And my sister says, I got to go, and hangs the phone up on me. Hangs the phone up, not bye, I just got to go bye, and just hangs the phone. Like at this point, I'm thinking, you know, what's happening? A couple minutes later, my nephew calls me up. He says, they're going after my dad, get over here. I'm like, who? And she said, Corey and his friends. Okay, at this point, I don't know what, I mean...
You don't know what happens. You get into your car and you go over there.
Absolutely.
Now, there's no question that once you got over there,
yes,
there's a whole melee, brothers, sisters, aunts, nieces, nephews, everybody's outside screaming, everybody's outside. Now, I want you to tell me this, sir. I read between the lines in your answer.
Mm-hmm.
You hit him.
Yes, I did.
Where did you hit him, by the way?
Where'd I hit him?
Yeah.
I hit him in the jaw.
In the jaw. What happened when you were hit in the jaw, sir? Your tooth came out, right?
Yes.
Now, he didn't hit you first.
Yes, he did.
No, no, no. No, he didn't hit you first.
There's a lot preceding this, Your Honor. There's a lot preceding.
I want you to answer my question. I don't care what preceded it.
Absolutely.
I read your answer very carefully.
Okay.
He did not hit you first. The first person to put their hands on somebody between the two of you was you, because he was disrespecting.
No. He elbowed me in the side of the head earlier.
Elbowed you.
I can't
Broke my
even...
glasses.
Just a second. No, no, no. No, 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 no. No, Mr. Roach.
Yes. I can go through the whole thing and tell you.
I'm going to read you your answer, sir.
Okay.
My sister Pam came out of the house and told Ryan and the rest of his friends to leave.
Nothing about girlfriend.
Just a second.
Yes.
I'm speaking.
All right.
At this point, Ryan stepped to the side and leaned over my shoulder towards her, directing profanities at her. I then grabbed him and wrestled him to the hood of my truck.
His truck.
Of a truck.
Yes.
That's what you wrote.
Yes, it's true.
Well, then the first person to put hands on somebody was you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Yes. Absolutely. No, I never would say anything different than that.
You just did, sir.
No.
You just told me that he put his hands on you first, and he elbowed you and broke your glasses, and I said, no, no, no. You got to get your story straight, Mr. Roach, because in your sworn statement to me, you say that he was disrespecting your sister, and you grabbed him and threw him up against the hood of a truck.
Yes, ma'am.
Because he was going after my sister with profanities, I felt compelled to protect her. I told him never to talk to my sister that way. That's what you wrote.
Absolutely. No question about it, ma'am.
So you assaulted him first. Anything that comes after that?
Yes.
Anything that comes out after that, sir. If he resisted you, if he elbowed you, broke your glasses, doesn't make any difference.
Absolutely.
When did you punch him?
That's
When did you punch him?
After this. After all this.
No, so let me see your medical bills. Very easy. Easy case.
No,
yeah.
Your Honor, there's a lot that went into this before this
speak,
stuff.
please?
I was just trying to go over there to help out. I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I walked over there.
Just so you know.
I see this guy over here by the van yelling to my family. Corey and Chrissy were over at the other car, like by their car. I don't know what's going on. I just walked up. I walked to the sidewalk, and I say, calmly, it's a family matter. Let's leave this. Let it go. Just let this go. He comes towards me. He's right in front of me now. My sister walks up to, right, she's behind me, and she says, get off my property. He says, I don't know if I can say it.
Hey, say anything. I've heard it all.
Okay, he says, you. Okay, at this point, when he says this, he's in front of me, and he goes over, I'm not saying he's assaulting me, but he goes like this, and he's making contact with me. He says, you. Okay, at that point.
You assaulted him.
At that point, I grabbed him and threw him on the truck.
You assaulted him. That's an assault.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Ryan McBride says his friend's uncle, Sean Roach, punched him in the mouth and knocked out a tooth.
You grabbed him, threw him up against the hood of a truck because he called your sister a name. You got mad. That's what happened.
I didn't get mad. I mean,
You didn't get mad?
I got a little upset, yes.
Mr. Roach, you had absolutely no right to put your hands on him. I want to know when your tooth got knocked out, sir.
When he was on the truck, I had an 88 F-150.
Sir,
okay.
I can't understand a word you're saying.
It's a big truck with a roll bar.
I didn't understand anything that you said before that either.
Okay. Well, when he took me, I got out of that. I don't know if somebody pulled him off.
Is he talking very fast, or am I getting old?
It's kind of slurred. Take
Listen
your
to
time.
me.
Yes.
Slowly.
Okay. He choked me on my truck, and he threw my coat up over my head. And when I got out of that, I saw a fist come at me.
So he pulled the coat over you?
Yes.
Did you press any charges, Mr. McBride?
I tried to. I consulted a lawyer, and they said in Oakland.
I'm talking about consulting a lawyer.
Okay.
I'm talking about pressing criminal charges.
I went to, and the lawyer advised me not to, because it would not go over in Oakland County. They don't like these kind of trials, and they would basically throw it out.
Go ahead, Mr. Roach. I'll hear you.
I called the detectives as this was going on because I was concerned what was happening. I called the detectives, and I was saying, you know, what's going to happen here. I gave him my statement. He said that his parents
Don't tell me what he told you.
Okay. His parents were calling up trying to do whatever they could to get these charges to stick to me. The detective said that there was not a case here. There was no case. They
Well,
were
there is a
dropped the
case.
charges.
There is a case. That's why I said to you, don't tell me what
He
the
didn't drop the
detective didn't say.
charges. The court dropped the charges.
Oh, I don't know that at all. Were you arrested?
No.
Then the court didn't drop charges.
No,
How can
that's
the
what
court
the
drop
detective told me.
charges if you weren't arrested?
Okay, the court may have not. However the court works, that's how the charges were dropped.
No, they
not
were never
by
dropped
him.
because they were never filed. The detectives decided not to pursue the matter.
Yes.
They probably
Yes.
listened to you when you said that he elbowed you first.
No, I
You
grabbed
just
him
told-
first. I'm sorry,
No.
I misunderstood. I grabbed him first. No question about it, ma'am.
You
No
grabbed him
question
first
about
and
it.
threw him up against his truck.
Yes, no
Okay,
question about
judgment
it.
for the plaintiff in the amount of
Excuse me, Your Honor.
$5,000. That's all.
Can I not speak? Because
No,
this is,
can't
it all-
speak, can't
it
say
has
it.
to do with beforehand. He hit me.
Excuse me,
Ryan hit me, too.
Just a minute. Your bills, sir, are almost $5,000. Can you tell me why you're only suing for $3,000?
In Michigan, they will only allow me to go up to $3,000.
Oh, I suppose that's your...
What about him
that's
assaulting
your-
my sister?
Yeah, he hit me, too,
That's
Your
okay?
Honor. Before he got hit in the mouth, he hit me. Ryan hit me.
Yeah, so where's your lawsuit?
Well, I wasn't suing him.
Well, he's suing him.
I know, but the whole thing is they were not asked to be at our property. We asked them to leave our property.
Let me explain something to you. Step up. I'll give it to you very fast. How is Christina related to you?
She is my daughter. And she
Oh,
was-
shh. Listen to you. She is your daughter. Up until that time, was she living with you?
No, she had left a couple weeks before that.
She had things in your home?
We made arrangements for her to get him the next day. She came that night, and she also has a truck. She did not need him to bring all these
That's a
kids
whole bunch
to our
of
house.
stories, madam. Let me tell you something. He was not there without some legitimate authority. If a person who lived in that house invited him to come, now if he's there as an invited guest, even to just remove her property from the house, you can't assume that you can assault him for staying on your property once you tell him to leave.
She had been gone for 2 weeks. She was not living in our premises. She had been already gone, and we
Your
asked her
brother
to leave.
had no right to
Well-
assault the plaintiff, period.
But-
He really wasn't involved with this. He was doing his friend a favor by coming and bringing his truck. Everything was going to be quiet. All you had to do was, if she wasn't living there for 2 weeks, let her take her stuff and go. I don't know why there was a whole
Because we
argument.
made arrangements, and she had a truck, and we asked for them not to come because I also have 2 sons that Mr. McBride was trying to get my 11-year-old to start a fight with him. The profanities that were being said was from them, not from us.
I like to lie.
Shut up, Christina.
We've asked-
Quiet. Listen to me. This is not family court. If it were, perhaps I might spend some more time trying to put together what is a story of a broken family. This is the case of an assault. Your brother put his hands on a stranger for using bad words to you. He's not allowed to do that, and he has to pay the consequences of doing that.
I understand
Whether you say that the plaintiff touched you first, that is not why your brother assaulted him. Your brother put his hands on him because he called you a name. That's what he just testified
But
to.
he had his hand raised, and I did file a suit against
The
him.
two
Goodbye.
hopped out afterwards. After he assaulted
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Next time I'll throw him over our knee and spank him. That's what his parents should have done to him long ago. We wouldn't have had this problem.
If my mom actually really cared about me, then maybe none of this would have happened.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Younger versus Hampton. Step forward, please.
37-year-old computer engineer Nancy Younger is suing her former friend, 26-year-old cashier Robin Hampton, for the cost of child support.
Miss Younger, the defendant's son was placed in your care by the courts.
Yes.
And you claim that pursuant to the court order, the defendant who is receiving child support for that child from the child's father, those checks were to be endorsed and payable to you while the child was in your care.
That's correct.
And it is your claim that 6 checks that the defendant received while the child was in your care were not turned over to you. That's what you're suing for.
Yes.
Defendant says you got all the money that you were supposed to. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Tell me when and why the child was placed in your care.
The child was placed in my care in January at Miss Hampton's request.
Why were you willing to have her take care of your
My
son?
son was taken away from me in January due to child abuse. My ex-boyfriend.
So the court was going to remove the child from your care,
Yes, Your Honor.
and you asked the plaintiff to take him instead of having him go into foster care.
Yes, ma'am.
How much support were you getting for the child from the child's father?
It was $154 a month.
When was the child removed from your care?
August 28th.
How many checks did you receive?
Well, actually, what I had asked Miss Hampton originally how much child support he was receiving, she told me $154.44 a month. And originally, I didn't question that. I assumed that she would tell me the correct amount. What happened was, my witness here, this is the child's father, he provided for me a Department of Revenue disbursement report, and I found out he was actually receiving $154.44 every 2 weeks.
Is that right?
When I got paid, I turned him over to her.
You didn't answer my question.
Whatever I received, I'm not sure if it was every 2 weeks or every month. Because I would get a payment, and then I wouldn't get a payment. Then I'd get a payment, and then be several weeks without payment. So I couldn't even keep up if it was every 2 weeks or every month.
The report shows it was issued approximately, give or take a few days, every 2 months. I missed...
Every 2 months?
Every 2 weeks, I'm sorry. I missed a check, at least one check every month.
How much money did you receive in total in the 7 months that you cared for the child?
$1,081.08.
That's what you received from her?
The ones that I checked are the ones I received.
$1,081.
Yes.
This is a simple case. Ms. Hampton.
Yes.
Everything that was received by the Department of Revenue during the time that she had physical custody of the child
Right.
belongs to her. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
According to your answer, you received some checks in September. Is that right?
2.
That money you didn't give her. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
But you know, Ms. Hampton, that they don't send it to you for the week that's coming up. They send it to you sometimes for a month that's passed, for 6 weeks that's passed, because it takes them time to process these things.
Right.
Right? So why didn't you turn over those checks to her?
Because she had no longer had my son.
But that was for money when she did have your son.
He owes me an arrear of child support for 7.5 years.
Step up here, sir. You have a copy of your child support order?
Not with me, Your Honor.
What is the child support order?
The child support order is $154 every 2 weeks.
Is it separated as far as arrears, and what is the current order?
They assess an extra $20 to make up for those arrears. In other words, I was garnished about $174 every 2 weeks on average.
Well, that's what I want to know.
Right.
Just for my own information, you owe her $772. Why was the child removed from your care?
The child was removed from my care because of a call that Ms. Hampton made to the Florida Abuse Hotline. She's made a call regarding every family that the child has ever lived with. She calls the abuse hotline, and subsequently the child gets moved someplace else. And basically the Inspector General report said that the child should have never been removed from my home, that he was not ever in any harm. The department was going solely based on Mrs. Hampton's statements. I have a copy of that here if you need to see it.
I'd like to see it. Where's your son now?
With his father.
This is a 72-page report that was issued by the Inspector General, and I've highlighted the pertinent parts.
All right, I'm not going to get into this report. There are things there that, quite frankly, without reading the entire report, I would have trouble making a determination about. However, suffice it to say that your son is with you now, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Child doing all right?
Much better, in fact. He's now an AB student.
And what about his mother? Does his mother see him?
When she feels like it. We've had about 13 to 14 scheduled visitations, of where she's appeared maybe 6 times.
What kind of visitation is it?
Well, it depends. We have the stay up for 14 to 19 hours a day visits. We have the whole let's go to everyone else's house rather than home.
No, I'm talking about what kind of court-ordered visitation is there?
It's supposed to be a weekend unsupervised.
Weekend unsupervised?
Yes.
Whatever happened with the child abuse case that caused the child to be removed from your care initially? You were charged with neglect.
No, I was charged with failure to protect.
Well, that's neglect. What happened with that case?
It's still going on. The procedure's still going on. I go for reunification May 30th of this year.
Was there a trial with regard to that case? Was there a trial? You had a lawyer?
Yes.
Did a caseworker testify?
Yes.
So there was a trial where you found guilty of failure to protect? Yes. Is that right?
Yes.
Child was turned over to the father, and you have ongoing meetings with the social worker and the child with regard to reunification.
Right.
It's like pulling teeth sometimes.
Yeah, I know. All right. In any event, the child is with the father. You owe her $772, judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Now, this is case number 539 on the calendar in the matter of Thomas Hilaire versus Smith Gray. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
You're Georgiana,
Yes.
and this is your mother?
Yes.
I'd like your mother to sit down, please. You're Miss Smith?
Yes, I am.
And this is your son?
Yes.
So why don't you have a seat, because I'll bring you up later if we need your testimony. How old are you?
14.
It is your complaint through your mother that you suffered a serious back injury in school as a result of an incident involving the defendant.
Yes.
When did this happen?
September 11th.
And you were in school?
Yes.
Were you inside the school?
Yes.
Tell me what happened.
My mom dropped me off. I got out of the car, went to the gated area, and I waited for my friends to get there. So my friend showed up a couple minutes later, and then he showed up.
Did you know Thomas from before?
Yes.
Were you friends?
We'll socialize, but not friends.
What do you mean you socialized?
Like, just talk if we have a class together.
So you did speak to him?
Yeah.
Never had any trouble with him?
No.
Okay. So then Thomas showed up.
He was picking on another girl before he picked on me.
What do you mean he was picking on somebody?
Like, pushing her and, like, kidding her.
In a fooling around way?
Yeah. He told her that he was going to pick on her, and then she said, no, you're not. And then he said, okay, well, I'm going to pick on Georgie then.
Okay. And that didn't bother you because you knew he was fooling around?
Yes.
So when he said, I'm going to pick on Georgie, what, did he do anything?
He started hitting me.
Where did he hit you?
Right here and like this.
Well, I want you to tell me whether he was hitting you or just...
Slapping.
Was he laughing, smiling?
Smiling.
And you?
I was laughing at first.
So you were laughing at first. So you knew he wasn't hurting you. It was just fooling around.
Yeah.
Okay. Keep going.
And then we were walking to first period, and he was still hitting me.
When you say he was still hitting you, how was he hitting you?
Slapping me.
Where?
Like on the arm and right here, like this. And we got to the building, we're inside, and I finally got the nerve to hit him back with my backpack.
Tell me how you did that.
I swung around twice, and I didn't get him the first time, but I got him the second time, I think around the below stomach area. I guess that made him mad, I don't know. And then I turned around to just get away from him, and I thought he would quit. And so I turned around to go get a drink of water.
Let's stop there for a moment. Up until that time, it was really just messing around, wasn't it?
Yes.
Up until that time, he was really messing around with you. Wasn't hurting you. You were fooling around because you certainly were with enough people so that you could have said to them, somebody help me, he's hurting me. He wasn't hurting you, right?
No.
And you didn't intend to hurt him when you swung at him with the backpack. You were messing around.
Yes.
When you swung the first time and missed, did you say anything to him or did he say anything to you?
No.
Were you smiling when you swung around and hit him?
Yes.
Were you smiling when you swung around and hit him again?
Yes.
Keep going. So then you went over to get a drink of water.
And I turned facing this way, and he was like to this chair, and then he put his foot against the wall, and he kneeled down. And then next thing I know, took off. And I thought he was just joking, he was going to stop. And I landed on my behind, and all I remember is crying.
Just a second. Wait a second. So he pushed you.
Yes.
And you fell and landed on your behind.
Yes.
And you hurt your back.
Yes.
And that's what this case is all about, the injuries that you sustained as a result of falling on your backside. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. You want to say anything?
Well, I didn't intentionally mean to push her, but I did not come down in the football position. Just when she swung her backpack, I dodged it and gave her a little touch, and she fell.
Well, you pushed her.
Yeah.
But everything else that we've talked about so far this morning, Thomas, is about accurate. You were messing around?
Yeah, for like a minute, but then I left.
You were messing around with her?
Yeah.
And then by tapping her, slapping her, whatever. But it was, nobody was angry.
No, it wasn't tapping or slapping like that.
What were you doing?
Like just talking.
You didn't put your hands on her?
No. I like put my hand on her shoulder.
Well, that's what we're talking about. You put your hand on her shoulder.
Yeah.
Didn't punch her.
No.
Didn't slap her in the face.
No, ma'am.
Right?
No.
Didn't punch you.
No.
Now the mothers can stand up. So your daughter was injured.
Yes.
Tell me how she was injured.
She was transported from the school to the nearest hospital near the school. We spent about 8 hours in that hospital before we finally found out by them doing an MRI and an X-ray that she had crushed her T12. I don't know how much you know about medicals, but it takes a lot of force to crush a vertebrae in your back.
Was she in a brace?
After we were at that first hospital for the first 8 hours, it was decided because of her age and the seriousness of the injury that it was best for her to go to a children's hospital, which was a 45-minute drive, which she had to take by ambulance again. We arrived there at 2 o'clock in the morning. They measured her for a full-body brace that went from here to here, had a front plate and a back plate, Velcroed on the side.
And how long did she remain in that cast?
For 3 months. But, Your Honor, I also want to stress that because it happened on September 11th, the incident, she was measured for the brace the next day, but because the planes were grounded after September 11th incident in New York, the brace had to come from Michigan, so she had to lay in a hospital bed for 6 days, living on morphine because they couldn't come until a week later. Excuse me.
You okay now?
She had to, she could not be out of bed without the brace. She couldn't take a shower for 3 months. I had to sponge bathe her every day. Anytime she needed to go to the bathroom, I had to put the brace on her and help her to the restroom. Plus, I was working full-time still, taking care of my daughter with a broken back.
Thomas Gray injured her back while horsing around at school.
Don't you believe that your daughter bears any responsibility for this at all? I'm not excusing this young man's behavior in pushing her, the fact that she fell, but they were messing around. She hit him first.
No,
There's no question. Yes, she did. According to her own testimony, he was at most, I learned a word here, mushing. What's mushing? Didn't you tell me what mushing was when you sort of go like this?
Right.
Right?
Nudge her.
It's kind of nudging. That's what he was doing to her. And even according to her, Didn't hurt her. She was smiling, he was smiling, she was with a bunch of kids. She wasn't in danger. He hadn't hit her. She hit him with her backpack, and she swung several times with her backpack. That's not excusing what happened. I mean, he could have walked away, probably should have walked away, right?
Yes, ma'am.
This was not an assault. This was kids fooling around on their way to class, and unfortunately, one of them got seriously injured. Were you suspended from school?
I was expelled for 2 semesters.
What about you?
I was out of school for 3 months.
Was your son arrested for assault?
No, ma'am.
Of course not, because this wasn't an assault. So what I want to know now is, what were your out-of-pocket expenses with regard to this
I have
unfortunate
copies
incident?
of the medical bills.
No, I want to know what your out-of-pocket expenses were. I assume you have insurance.
Yes.
Good. So what were your out-of-pocket expenses for her medical care, not your work loss or anything else?
I didn't calculate any of that, and I haven't paid any of the bills yet because there was a problem with the insurance.
So you don't know?
No.
So I can't tell what your medicals will be, if any. It may be that the insurance is going to cover everything. You have to know that you were partially responsible.
I know.
Good. I'm glad you know that. What responsibility do you believe, if any, that you have to compensate the plaintiff for the injury she sustained?
Well, I think it was all an accident and that it could have been prevented, but I wasn't thinking at the time. Like, I apologized to her, and I really regret for what I did, but if I can take it back, I would.
You didn't mean to hurt her, did you?
No, ma'am.
How long had your son been in that school?
The beginning of September, the school.
Yeah.
Did you just start that school?
Yes.
Yeah.
Your Honor, they were in school 6 days when this happened.
Yeah,
Okay,
couple
but
of weeks.
was this the first year that you were in that school?
Yes, ma'am.
You were just starting high school?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and as a result of that, you were expelled for 2 semesters.
Yes, ma'am.
That's his punishment. And you're back in the school now.
Yes, ma'am.
Sometimes when you fool around, one person gets injured more than another. That doesn't mean a lawsuit. Your case is dismissed. That's it.
Thank
Parties
you,
are
Your Honor.
excused. You may step out.
Unfortunately, like Judge Judy said, someone got hurt.
I've been struggling with this ever since it happened on September 11th.
Horseplay, not the thing to do.
Playing around is not playing around when somebody gets hurt as badly as she did.
I'm very sorry that it happened.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Henry versus Goss. Step forward, please.
23-year-old student Danielle Henry is suing her former roommate, 22-year-old waitress Nancy Goss, for damages to her apartment caused by Nancy's Chihuahua.
Miss Henry, according to your complaint, the defendant became your roommate. She moved in with a dog. It's her boyfriend's dog, a little Chihuahua. I assume you're not roommates anymore, is that right?
No, ma'am.
And you claim that her dog destroyed your carpet. You want her to reimburse you for the carpet. She said you had a dog too, and the dogs were equally responsible for the damaged carpet. When did she move in with you, Miss Henry?
It was in June 2001.
And you have a dog?
Yes, I do.
What kind of a dog do you have?
It's a Chihuahua as well. It's a 4-year-old Chihuahua, ma'am.
And you were bringing your boyfriend's dog?
Yes, ma'am, because of her Chihuahua.
Okay, what kind of damage do you allege her dog did to your carpet?
Her dog chewed a hole in her bedroom in which she already knew about and cleaned up and didn't tell me about.
Chewed a hole?
Yes, ma'am. I have pictures.
All right.
Pictures of the carpet, pictures of the dog, pictures of other damages the dog's done.
I have better pictures if you'd like to see.
I'm not interested in seeing all the doggy pictures, although they're adorable, but I'm really busy today. Are these the only, is this the damage that you're talking about just on one page?
As far as the carpets, ma'am?
Yeah, as far as the carpets.
We also have the lawn that was destroyed, and my stereo cables were also chewed up. Boxes and...
Did you replace them?
She did. Her fiance, Brandon, did.
So we're only talking about carpet?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I'm looking at the carpet. And how do you know her dog did this damage?
Ma'am, her dog was a puppy, and when it first moved in, it was really young and didn't destroy anything, but eventually it started to destroy things through the month of August and September. I confronted Miss Goss about this, about the damages, and that she needed to replace them, and that the dog would need to be contained when we're not home, being that the damages continued, and that's when she assaulted me.
Did I ask a question there that she answered?
I don't know if she ever really got to it.
How do you know her dog did the damage instead of both of your dogs doing the damage?
I lived in the apartment for a year before Miss Goss lived there, and there was no holes in the rugs ever, and my dog has never done anything as far as damages. I also lived in another apartment, which I got my full and complete deposit back, so my dog never destroyed anything there as well.
Okay, did your dog eat up the carpet?
No.
Make little holes in the carpet?
No, there's no way possible. I mean, it's just unreal. I mean,
let's go back. Let's go back a second. All right. Of course, there's a way possible.
Well, yeah.
One of the holes that I saw in this book, in her scrapbook of dog, was in your bedroom.
Yes, ma'am.
When you moved into the bedroom, I assume there was not a hole in the carpet.
Yes, ma'am.
And when you moved out, there was a hole in the bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, she must have at some point told you or had a discussion with you about the hole in the bedroom carpet.
No.
She never had a discussion with you about the hole in the bedroom carpet?
Your Honor, that's a lie.
No, it's not.
Just a second.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, what was the argument about on September 10th?
Me and my fiance just got back from uptown. She was in the kitchen. We recycled, and I came walking in, and she was like, "Hercules chewed up my computer wires," and I'm like, "Well, Danielle, you know, if he did that, then I would replace them." And she kept on and on and on and on. I was like, "Danielle, leave it alone."
No. Just a second. Listen to me. She said that your dog destroyed the computer, chewed the computer wires, and you said, "My boyfriend will replace them." So I assume you knew that it was true, because when you have a little dog, that's what I have, you see where their favorite spots are to go. So you've probably seen your dog chewing on wires. Right.
Wires, not carpet.
So you probably knew that your dog did that kind of damage. Then you said she went on and on and on and on and on. I want to know what the on and on and on and on was. That's the important part.
You need to lock up Hercules.
Okay.
Didn't ask. If she would have asked, it would have been fine. But she did not ask. She is very demanding. That's how she wants it done. It's her way or no way.
Okay.
All
now,
she had to do was ask.
Was this the first time she had asked you or told you that your dog had destroyed something in the house?
No.
No. So she had told you that the dog had done other damage in the house?
To wires.
To wires. But when you came home on this day, she said, again, your dog was at the wires. And this time it was to what kind of system?
It was a stereo.
Stereo system.
And a laptop cord.
All right. So then she was saying to you, you have to contain the dog, because it was not the first time that the dog had caused damage. And then there was an altercation, some sort of. And then you moved out, I assume, in September?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And did you get any sort of an estimate on putting a patch there?
Yes, ma'am.
And what was it?
Oh, I'm sorry, not as far as a patch. Miss Goss tried to patch the carpet, in which she spoke with the landlord about that. And so when that wouldn't work, that's when she decided that it could have been either dog.
Oh, so you
May
did...
I say something?
Just a second.
Yes, ma'am.
Hold it. Hold it.
I have it in her letter, ma'am.
So you knew about the carpet, Miss Goss, and you spoke to the landlord about patching it?
Okay, this is the situation.
Just
None
answer
of the
my
carpet.
question. Just answer my question. You knew about the carpet, and you discussed with the landlord
About patching it.
about patching
Yes.
it. And did you try to patch it?
He said that the landlord's wife, said that Danielle preferred to have new carpet while staying there. I asked him again. I said, "Can we patch it?" He said, "It can be done, but I'd rather not."
Not patch it?
Not patch it.
Then you got to replace it. Period. I mean, I know what we're doing here. I initially thought when I looked at these papers, well, how can you tell what damage is caused by what dog? This was in your bedroom. You clearly at some point acknowledged that it was your dog's fault because you went to the landlord and said, "Look, I'll fix it, I'll patch it."
We were talking about both patches, not just the bedroom.
I'm just talking about the bedroom. I'm discarding the living room. I saw the living room, the tear in the living room. And who knows, maybe your dog started it and her dog went over it. Well, that might be a good idea. I'd like a little taste of that. That's a possibility, but certainly not in your bedroom. What's the cost of the new carpeting in her bedroom, former bedroom only?
The landlord just gave us the estimate for the complete and full bedroom, living room.
The
It's all one
whole
rug.
apartment is being replaced.
No, that's, well,
with
she's
the
not going to pay for that.
677.
She's not going to pay for that. How large is your bedroom?
What would you say? I'm not good with
About a 12 by 12.
12 by 12, so he says.
All right, so probably your bedroom, considering the cost of this carpet, which is not really high-quality carpet for all of those rooms.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so it's probably not more than $150. Judgment for the plaintiff, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is case number 538 on the calendar in the matter of Bates versus Lott. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats, please.
All right, Miss Bates, you weren't present when this accident occurred, is that right?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Only your son was there and the defendant.
That's correct, Your Honor.
You're the son?
Yes.
Step up, you may have a seat. Tell me your first name.
Joshua.
All right, Joshua. This case is about whether the car hit you or you hit the car.
Yes.
You were riding a bike?
Yes.
And it is your claim that the defendant, while driving his car, with a suspended license, by the way, is that right, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Whether the defendant hit you or you hit him. Tell me when this happened.
This happened May 14th, 2001.
What time of the day, Joshua?
It was about 7:50, I believe.
Morning?
Yeah, or maybe like between 7:40 and 7:50.
Where were you going?
I was on my way to school.
So tell me what happened on May 14th.
I was on my way to school, and I got off the bike trails, and as I
Slow. Okay. Joshua, very slowly. You were on your way to school.
Yes, and I crossed the intersection, and I was driving down the sidewalk on my way to school, and then as I crossed the drive into a gas station, he hit me.
So he hit you from the side?
Yeah, while he hit my bike below me, and I was thrown over my handlebars, and then after I
Just a minute. He hit you from the side, though,
Yeah.
is what you're saying?
Yes, I mean, Honor.
And you were driving on the sidewalk?
Yes.
Are you supposed to ride on the sidewalk?
No, I did not believe so, but I wasn't aware of that at the time.
Just a second. My question is, I thought that bikes were not supposed to be on the sidewalk.
I believe that's so.
And you say that when he hit you coming out of the driveway...
No, he was coming into the driveway.
Oh, he was pulling into the gas station?
Yes, Your Honor.
And as he hit you, you fell over the handlebars?
Yes, I flew over the handlebars.
Tell me about your injuries.
I sustained back injuries onto my lower back, and I got bruises on my waist and I think my arms, and I believe my knee too.
Were you hospitalized, Joshua?
I went to the hospital afterwards.
Were you admitted to the hospital?
Yeah, I didn't stay there overnight.
Did not, so you were not admitted?
No.
Okay. Did you receive any follow-up treatment?
Yes, I went to the chiropractors for a month.
Feel better now?
My back still hurts occasionally, like when I do physical activity.
Okay. When you were thrown from the bike, did Mr. Lott stop the car?
I believe he did, but then he got back in after he saw everyone coming around and drove over to get gas, I believe.
Did he speak to you?
I don't recall. Maybe he did.
What do you mean you don't recall?
Because I was kind of like dazed and injured, because I fell unconscious after I hit the ground. So I woke up and I was kind of in a daze, and I don't recall too much.
So you don't remember Mr. Lott speaking to you?
I'm not sure if it was him. I don't really recall at all.
Okay. All right, Mr. Lott, you want to tell me your version of these events, sir?
I was going down the street, and I was going to get some gas. And there's two driveways. And when I got to the first driveway, I happened to see this kid coming across that intersection. He was going pretty good. And I figured, well, that's not a problem, because he just came across. So I started to pull in, and I got halfway up the driveway, and I see the kid again, and I thought, Jesus, he's only about 60 feet away. He's going to hit me. If I continue, this boy's going to hit me. So I stopped my car, took a look in the rearview mirror to see if I was going to get rear-ended, and I wasn't. I gave the boy a chance to swerve to go around me, and he almost made it. He did 2 or 3 swerves and almost pulled it out. He hit the front of my car, and he knocked the license plate off of it. And the car was going this way.
Excuse me.
He hit the,
Just a second.
with his bicycle, he hit the license plate and knocked it off my car. And I sat there, and I watched him fly over my hood. And I was concerned about that. Well, he hit me pretty good. Thank God I was stopped, otherwise he'd have been going the other direction or on top of my hood. But anyway, when he hit the ground and went over, I jumped out of the car, and he wanted to get up, and I said, no, stay down. He's laying down. I wanted to talk to the boy a little bit. I didn't want him to move because I've had some training. And I wanted to make sure that there was no concussions, no bleeding, no head injury, no delayed shock. So I started talking to him. And when he felt a little bit, I felt that he was feeling a little bit better. He wanted to sit up. I said, okay, now you can sit up. And at that time, I touched him a couple of times. I looked at his eyes, asked him a few questions. I felt no clamminess for shock. I was worried about it. Other people started arriving. This is true. A guy wanted to get out of the driveway from the gas station, so I pulled my car up to get out of the way. I saw the cut on his arm, and so when I pulled up, I went inside and got some ice for his arm. When I came back, there was a crowd of people around him, and they were in control. And people kind of pushed me away, and I said, well, he's fine. That's not a problem.
Now, so it's your statement.
He told me he was running late for school, and he apologized to me for going too fast, and he thanked me for stopping the car.
Mr. Lott, so
Yes,
it's
ma'am.
your statement that your car was stopped.
Yes, ma'am.
You were stopped, and he drove directly into your car,
He
knocking
drove in
off your
front of the
license
car,
plate.
And that's why license plate
Okay.
bent.
All right. Now, Mrs. Bates, you indicated you have a witness?
I do, Your Honor.
I assume this is the witness.
This is.
So step up here, sir. Would you tell me your name?
Yes, ma'am. My name is Steve Thorpe, and I just dropped my son off at school, drove over to the gas station. I parked the car behind the gas station because it was pretty busy that day. Just as I stepped out of the car, I heard the bike and the car meet, and it seemed to me like he didn't stop. He was still pulling into the gas station.
Mr. Lott, don't interrupt him.
I'm sorry, ma'am, but he didn't see
Don't,
anything.
Mr. Lott,
Yes,
don't
ma'am.
interrupt.
And the car hit him almost like a T-bone. The bike didn't hit the side of the car. The front of the car hit the bike on the side. The license plate flew across the driveway.
That's because he hit the license plate.
In fact, in which
Mr. Lott, you're interrupting, sir.
I'm sorry, ma'am. I just hear a lot of...
Mr. Lott.
Yes, ma'am.
Don't interrupt, sir. Go ahead.
The young man flew over the handlebars, hit his head on the curb, and the defendant did get out of the vehicle first, was the first one to see if he was all right. A whole bunch of other people stopped, including one lady who identified herself as a nurse, basically took over to the sheriffs and the paramedics. Everybody showed up.
Mr. Thorpe, thank you very much. You waited around in order to give your information to the police?
In fact, I waited till everything calmed down, then I handed my driver's license to the sheriff, and he says, well, where's the guy that hit him? I said, he's over there washing his windows on his car. He just got gas.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 15-year-old Joshua Bates says while riding his bike to school, he was run over by motorist Walter Lott. Walter says Joshua ran into him.
Why don't you step up anyway now, Miss Bates, because I have just a couple more questions for your son. Were you going fast that day, Joshua?
I believe I was going in the usual speed on my way to school.
So you weren't going too fast?
I was going maybe 10, 15 miles per hour.
Okay. Now I'll take a look at your pictures, please.
And I also have the amount of property damage, as well as the police report.
I'd like to see that, all of that.
Your Honor, he was also uninsured at the time.
I didn't hear that. Could you say that again?
She said you were uninsured, sir. Is that true?
I don't know. At the time, I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know?
I didn't know if I was uninsured or not. As far as I knew, I was insured.
Well, you have a suspended license. What
I had
was
a
it
suspended license, but I didn't know about till later on.
What was it suspended for, Mr. Lott?
It was a case that was pending about old child support or not.
They don't do that without giving you notice.
Well,
They
I
choose to
travel a
ignore
lot.
the notice, but you get the notice. Mr. Bates, I like when you give me the same statement that you gave to the police, sir.
I believe I said I was trying to brake because I saw him coming in.
No. Let's start with, you told the police that you were riding pretty fast. You told me you were riding, well, normal speed, 10, 15 miles an hour. But the
Yes,
police, you told you were riding pretty fast.
That's the speed I usually ride to school.
Don't try to make things look better for yourself because you're in court, sir. Let me explain something to you. I'm really smart.
Yes.
Right? I'm really smart. And I'm going to read all the papers. So you better keep your story consistent. That doesn't mean you were wrong that day. It just means that if you're trying to make yourself look better here in court than the situation actually was, and if you were at least partially, even if a small part, at fault, you have to acknowledge that you were. Do you understand me, Joshua?
Yes, Your Honor.
So let's go back. Were you riding fast?
I guess you could say that.
No, I don't want to say that. I'm asking you. The day they took the report, they said you told the police that you were riding pretty fast.
Yes.
Now, is that accurate?
Yes.
And you were riding on the sidewalk where you shouldn't have been riding. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, now we got it. That doesn't mean that it was all your fault, but you got to be honest with me. He's not being totally honest with me.
Yes.
But no, you're not. But I expect you to be. He's got a lifelong predisposition. You're just starting out, sir.
Yes, Your Honor.
Good. Oh, well. This is your statement. He said he was riding pretty fast. As he crossed the north driveway, he saw this car turning into the driveway. So you saw the car turning into the driveway.
Yes, Your Honor.
Using his handbrakes, he tried to stop his bicycle. He failed to do so and collided with the front of his car.
No, that is not entirely
That's
true.
what you told the police.
That's not what happened.
That's what you told the police.
But he was out of it, Your Honor.
I know he was.
Listen to me. Don't tell me he was out of it. You weren't there.
No, I wasn't.
You weren't there.
Your Honor, I did not collide with the front of his car.
Let me explain something to you, sir. According to the... Put the license plate down. The license plate could have come off, Mr. Lott. Put him down. It could have come off, sir.
Pardon?
Listen to me. You're not having trouble hearing me. Nobody has trouble hearing me, Mr. Lott.
I needed my right ear.
Okay, well then listen carefully with your right ear. The license plate could have come off if you hit him or he hit you.
It wouldn't have been bent if I hit him.
How?
On this side.
You have an expert witness to testify as to that, sir?
Do we need one?
We sure do.
Well,
because I don't know what your license plate looked like beforehand. It looks like it's seen a lot of damage to me. Now be quiet before you get yourself into more trouble, Mr. Lott. I'm working on
Here's
you.
the tire marks where you hit
I'm
me.
going to give you 1, 2, 3, and then you're going to be a very unhappy man. Now, you saw him before you were crossing the driveway.
I know as I was coming into the driveway, and then as I was getting to the end of the driveway, he plowed into the side of me.
Joshua.
Yes, Your Honor.
I asked you one question. I said you saw him before the accident, because that's what you said to the police.
I believe so, Your Honor.
What do you mean you believe so?
I don't know because...
Well, you don't know. Well, I'm reading that I have to rely on what you told the police immediately.
The police officer...
Joshua, that doesn't mean that it's 100% your fault. Now, you and your mother would like me to say it was all his fault. It's possible that that's not true. It's possible that part of it was your fault. So I have to apportion financial responsibility. So I don't want you to tailor your testimony to what you think is the most favorable here in court, because I have your statement to the police that was very clear, not as a result of having a fuzzy mind. You said you tried to use your handbrakes.
Yes, I did. Right when he plowed into me, basically.
When he plowed into you.
Yes.
You've got it all down pat, Joshua. You are not impressing me, sir.
I'm not sure. What?
Yeah, I got it. I would suggest that you be quiet. You're driving with a suspended driver's license, and usually when a car hits something other than a car, it's usually their fault, Mr. Lott. Yes, you did.
He hit me. Here's the tire marks from his bike hitting me.
Oh, God.
Now, let me tell you what I do not believe, Mr. Lott. I do not believe that you stopped your car and that your car was standing in a stationary position and this young man came and slammed into your stopped car. I do not believe that, sir.
We all said it. He said it, he said it, and I said it.
Well, I don't know. Maybe you weren't
it.
listening with your good ear. Nobody on this side said that your car was stopped and he hit you.
I did not say that.
Nobody said it, except in your mind.
Can I have the deputy show you this? And show you the tire marks on here where you ran into me?
What I want you to do is I want you to forget about that.
Oh, okay.
Good. Forget about that piece of evidence. You've already showed it to me 4 times.
Ignore it.
The last part of the police report is very interesting. The last part of the police report indicates cause. Based on the statements by both parties, P1 was at fault. That's you. It says in the collision for riding his bicycle on the sidewalk, a violation of 21-650. So after they spoke to you and the witnesses and everybody else, they determined it to be your fault because you read the police report. You handed me the police report.
This is true, but they didn't put it. The police didn't include his statement.
Okay, well, they
he was
included.
an eyewitness.
Let me tell you this. They included another person's statement. Mr. Lott, be quiet. They included another person's statement, and the other person's statement was, and I don't think this was you, this was witness, said, Witness 1 was walking in the parking lot approximately 75 to 100 feet northwest of the driveway. He saw your son riding his bicycle northbound on the west sidewalk. As your son began to cross the driveway, he saw the defendant begin to turn into the driveway, and he saw your son run into his car.
How could he see that if he was riding across the driveway?
Listen to me.
That's
the witness's statement.
Right, but it's conflicting, Your Honor.
Listen to me. At the end of all of the people that they spoke to, and I heard him, they said your son was doing the wrong thing. And I'm not suggesting to you that Mr. Lott was not partially at fault. You would like me to believe that he was entirely at fault and fully responsible for what you claim is $5,000 damage. And I'm saying to you is, I believe that there is contributory negligence on your son's part. And if you don't think so, I can't do anything. The police concluded it was all his fault. Now, When did you contact an attorney?
I think it was within the week after Josh.
Within 1 week?
It may have been the following day, but I believe it was within the week. I can't
One
give you a
day
date.
or 1 week. You contacted the law firm of Gerald.
That's correct.
Did Mr. refer you to the chiropractor?
He asked me if Joshua were sore.
I didn't
Yes,
ask you
that's
that
correct.
question. I asked you whether Mr. referred you to the chiropractor.
Yes, Your Honor.
And how often did Mr. suggest you go to the chiropractor?
I'm not sure.
They spoke to me as long as he needed to.
That's not what I asked you. I'm 10 steps ahead of you, madam. You may not get it, but believe me, I'm 10 steps ahead of you. I know the legal game. That's why I'm asking all these questions. Now, after he determined that he wasn't going to take your case, did you ever go to his chiropractor again?
No.
The answer is yes or no. The answer is no. And that is despite the fact that Joshua tells me that he still has some discomfort in his back, right?
That's correct.
But you stopped going to the chiropractor. You have health insurance?
Yes, we do, Your Honor.
What kind of health insurance do you have?
At this time, it's Blue Cross.
Did Blue Cross and Blue Shield pick up the chiropractic care?
We didn't have them at the time. We had Maxi Care.
Yes.
And I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know? If you went to a chiropractor, if you went to a
I don't know if
doctor...
the attorney was billed or if Maxi Care was billed. I don't know.
So that you had no out-of-pocket expenses. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. When you drive a car, you're supposed to have eyes all around you because you never know when a child is going to come out, Mr. Lott, that you don't expect. A dog will come running across. You're driving a vehicle that weighs 3,000 pounds, and you have to have eyes all over. Now, you saw him, so you should have been much more careful than you were. Maybe you thought you could make it. I don't know what the answer is, but you should have been much more careful. That does not absolve Joshua of his responsibility. Joshua was riding his bike where he shouldn't have been. He was riding much too fast, so he is partially responsible for getting hurt. Now, parents have no out-of-pocket expenses because all of these expenses were absorbed by an attorney. Going to the chiropractor, in all probability, was designed to do nothing more than to facilitate a lawsuit, which turned out to be nothing because there was no insurance, which is why we're here. Now, I think, Mr. Lott, you are partially responsible for his pain and suffering that he suffered, and clearly he was beat up and he was banged up, certainly not to the tune of $5,000. The bicycle suffered a certain amount of damage. That was a couple of $100s, and I'm sure that Joshua had a certain amount of discomfort for a while. Is that right, young man?
I still do, Your Honor.
You still do?
Yes.
Should have been more careful.
Yes, Your Honor.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Now, this is case number 545 on the calendar in the matter of Stevens versus Ely Ford. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Mr. Stevens, it is your claim that the two defendants, one of whom is your brother-in-law, were involved in a shootout in a club parking lot, which caused damage to your car.
Yes, ma'am.
Which one is the brother-in-law? What's your last name, sir?
Owen.
Okay, when did this happen?
January 7th, at about 3:30 in the morning.
Tell me what happened.
Well, I had the misfortune of that morning of going to the clubhouse. It's like an after-hour place that once all the clubs close, we head out and we go to this motorcycle club. And I was standing outside talking with some friends, and these two vehicles pull up. And
What kind of vehicles?
one was a later model Plymouth and a late model Cadillac. And they parked about 30 feet away from one another. I informed the gentleman that they were going to have to move the car because the clubhouse is on a very, very narrow street. And whenever someone parks on one side, there's motorcycles on the other side. So it's hard for traffic to get through. And they don't...
So you told them that they were going to have to move the cars?
Yes. And he said, okay, sure. And so I continued talking with my friends. Some time went by, I say about 15, 20 minutes. There were members from the clubhouse coming out, asking them, could you move the cars? Could you move the cars? And they would say, sure, yeah, I'll move the cars.
But they were in the cars?
Yes.
They remained in the cars?
Yes. So this went on for about, about 40 minutes. And then some more members came out, and they asked the guys to move the cars again. And they said, sure. And they went back in, and they didn't move the cars.
Who went back in?
The other members of the club.
Meanwhile, the two strangers in these two vehicles remained in their cars?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
They had moved, so my brother-in-law came out. He was about to get going here, and I know him.
I don't understand that. You have to explain that to me.
He was about to get after these guys to get them to move the cars. He's kind of like the enforcer there. He's
not true, Your Honor.
Okay.
He's the guy that they want on the gate. He's the guy that makes sure everybody pays. He's the guy that doesn't take any crap off of anybody. So I immediately headed him off. I caught him in the middle of the street before he could approach the gentleman, and we were face to face. And I basically told him, hey, look, man, these guys got guns, man. Don't come out here talking.
How do you know that they had guns?
They showed me guns.
When did they show you the guns?
About the third time that they were asked to move the cars. One of them, the guy, I know him as Big Mike. He stood back and he lifted his shirt.
Stood back how?
He got out of his car, and he stood back, and he said, nobody better, can I swear? He said, nobody better say a thing to my brother. And he pulled up his gun. He said, I'm going to bust a cap in your. So when this happens, I immediately go in and tell some of the other guys, members of the club that are behind the bar, I said, hey, don't come out here talking crazy, man. These guys have guns. Once my brother-in-law came out.
You stopped him and said, don't go over there.
I said, don't go over there, man. We were face to face. He was heading towards me, and I was heading, and I met him in the street. I said, hey, man, look. I put both arms up around him like this, and I was walking him back. I said, let's just go back in here, man, and let this stuff cool down, because these guys are stupid. As we are going, as I'm backing him into the compound, the other defendant, Mr. James Ely, he kind of comes out and kind of walks sideways down the fence with his gun in the air like this, waving it like it's... He came out and he had it up in the air, doing it like this. So I get Peanut in, I get my brother-in-law in, and then Ely kind of walks in behind us. Okay, we're all inside the compound.
So now you're all in the club.
Right, we're all back in, there's a little compound area. We're back inside the fence. It's a fenced-off area. Okay, about a minute and a half goes by, and I hear pow, pow. And then I hear Mr. James say, oh, I've been hit. And then he turns and he starts firing. Just shooting wildly at random, just firing a 9mm Glock, just shooting it. And then I see my brother-in-law. I didn't even know he had a gun until I saw him shooting the gun. So I'm out there in the streets with two guys with guns, and I don't have one.
So your car was hit by gunfire?
Yes, ma'am.
So how are you certain that it was either of the two defendants' guns that caused the damage to your car?
Well, the guys were shooting in they were shooting towards the clubhouse, and so they were returning fire towards the guys.
Towards your car?
Right, because the guy that shot Mr. James, his car was parked parallel to mine.
Where were you shot, Mr. James?
I was shot in the chest on the right side, went in the right side, out underneath here, and in my arm. The bullet is still in my arm. I'm right-handed.
Either of you have licenses for these pistols?
I didn't have a pistol. That's why I do have a concealed weapons permit, but I didn't have a weapon that night. I got a police report here with 5 witnesses say what happened.
Let me see the report.
And none of them ever said I had a gun. And the way he's describing the whole situation is totally untrue.
Well, let me hear your version of it.
Okay. The situation up till us coming out the gate is about true. We go across the street. Nathaniel's ahead of me. He's talking to the guys. I walk over there. All of a sudden, I see one of his friends pull a gun out behind Nathaniel. I said, no, you can't do that. By that time, there's a crowd of people out in the streets looking at this. So we back up and walk into the yard. It's a fenced-off yard. We're standing in there maybe 2-3 minutes later. I look through the gate. It's a cyclone fence. I look in the gate and I see something shiny. And it's a guy with a gun poking through the gate, and he shot me in the left arm, then in the right chest. I go down on the ground, and all I hear is some gunfire, and these guys across the street is shooting up the world, and where his car is parked was, how can you say, if we were facing east, his car was north of that.
All right. Sometime earlier, before this gunfire erupted, you told me that you saw people who you considered suspect, dangerous enough to go and warn everybody. Listen to me carefully, sir. One of them exited the car and pulled out a gun from his waistband. My question to you is, why at that moment did you not immediately go into the clubhouse, call the police, and indicate someone had menaced you with a gun?
Well, that was I'm not a member of the club, okay? I don't have access to a cell phone or anything. This is why I went in to tell these guys.
No, Mr. Stevens.
Why didn't they call the cops?
You're just shifting responsibility, sir.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Clarence Stevens says during a gun battle outside a biker bar, his car was shot up. He says Nathaniel Ford and James Ainley owe for repairs.
You saw them get out of the car, one of them, pull out a gun, threaten you, anybody else, whoever else was there. You can't tell me you're not a club member, so you couldn't go and use the phone. Well, that's ridiculous.
This is why I told you.
He has free access to the clubhouse. We know who Clarence is. He come in and out. We talk and socialize.
Your Honor, I don't come to the club like this and get on the phone and do all these things. I don't want them to sit here and make it seem like I'm like a brother to these guys. It's not that. That's not the case at all.
Mr. Stevens, instead of trying to anticipate what you're going to say, why don't you listen to me? When you saw this person who was clearly out for no good because it ended up in shooting somebody, why didn't you go in and call the police? And don't tell me you're not a club member and you didn't have a cell phone. I don't want to hear that.
I didn't have any access to the phone, Your Honor. I was outside talking to my friend. I went in to tell them not to come out. I said, these guys out here have guns, thinking that maybe they would call the cops.
Why didn't you call the police?
I didn't have a phone, Your Honor.
Mr. Stevens, you didn't have a phone, so fix your car. I don't know whose guns caused the damage to your car.
Can I say something? Your Honor, look, this kind of stuff, you see this picture? Just last week on the 10th, these kinds of things have been happening for the last 14 months. This lady's dead, Your Honor. She's got 3 kids. You see what I'm saying? This kind of stuff goes on. Nobody called the cops down there then. These guys are irresponsible.
I beg your pardon, I was on the phone.
Just a second, Mr. Stevens. This is a court, so I have to fix responsibility. And I am not saying that any actions that they involved themselves in on that day was appropriate. Certainly, even according to your complaint, before there was any gunfire, exchange of gunfire, this gentleman was shot, and then gunfire erupted back and forth. So I want you to listen to me very carefully, sir. Who did you go to the club with that night?
Myself.
Okay. So it's 3:30 in the morning. You've already been to another club. How did you get to the club?
I drove.
And I assume that you weren't intoxicated?
No.
Perfect. So if you see a guy with a gun around the location where, according to you, people get shot, people get killed, you get in your car, you go home, you call the police. If you're concerned, if you're a concerned citizen, that's what you do. But you stayed for 40 minutes. So you see this thing,
I didn't go inside.
What?
I didn't go inside except for to warn them.
You stayed for 40 minutes.
But I was out after I went in to tell them that the guys had guns, and then I came back outside, Your Honor.
Why?
I was getting ready to go.
No, getting ready to go is not going. You say, I'm leaving. I've warned you guys. You do what you want to do. I'm getting in my car and going. But if you stay outside, and what happened was he used the gun. And then there was an exchange of gunfire. I can't hold them responsible. They may have behaved badly, but you behaved irrationally by staying. I can't help you, Mr. Stevens. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
They were his friends out there with the gun disturbing everything.
I had no idea there was going to be a shootout.
Your Honor saw through his little lies and so on and everything.
He could have got killed at the club.
It went from $1,700 to fix his car. Next thing I'm looking at paperwork, $2,400, you know. So, yes, it was about money.
Alma Campos says security company manager Newfirst Val Vallis sprayed her outside a nightclub. Val claims that Alma spit on him.
Ms. Campos, the defendant is a security guard at a club, and it is your claim that he pepper sprayed you, causing you injury after an incident at the club where you were a patron along with your brother and some other people.
That's correct.
The defendant says that your brother and you were both drunk that evening, and it was necessary to use the pepper to preserve the peace. On what date did this incident occur, Ms. Campos?
On the night of Friday, May 15th, or the morning, Saturday morning, you could say. It was about 1 a.m.
Who had you been with that evening?
My brother and a couple of his coworkers.
You the brother?
Yes.
Step up, please. Tell me your name.
My name is Moises.
Okay. Why don't you tell me what happened?
We were on our way out of the club. My brother and his friends and myself, of course, were walking out. I stopped to get some food that they sell there at the nightclub. So I grabbed 4 burritos. And on my way out, my brother's now
sort of a ways ahead of me, friends sort of behind. We're kind of shuffling our way out since it is a club, there's a lot of people. We're making our way out of the club into the parking lot, which is also an alley. And I'm outside in the parking lot, and I see a ruckus, something going on in the alley. And I notice that my brother is surrounded by a number of gentlemen. So the guys around my brother, the security are kind of, around him. And then I see Val with his arms crossed, sort of closest to me. So I ask him, hey, what's going on? Why are you guys doing this?
Well, you didn't ask quietly, because you would not have asked quietly. You would have been excited.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Let's make sure we get it all right.
Yes, that's correct, Your Honor. And his arms are crossed. He's looking at me with this snarl. All I remember, the last thing I remember is this smile. It's kind of like oh, 'cause I'm bored. Pulls up. I don't even see. I don't know what it is. Yes.
Is that what he said, or is that the look?
Both. The look, and he said those 3 words, 'cause I'm bored. Next thing I know, I'm on my knees in a dress and heels. Face feels like it's on fire. I have no idea what just hit me until I realize, moments later, I'm just like, oh my God, what has happened?
Okay, so that's when you were sprayed and you fell.
That's when I was sprayed and I fell.
Mr. Campos, tell me what happened when you left the club.
As I walked out, I was pushed out by one of the bouncers because he was clearing everybody out, got me out.
Had you been asked to leave the club
I had
before?
been asked to leave.
Why? Do you know?
Just because it was the end of the club. Everybody was about to leave. I was finishing one of my drinks, and he didn't allow me to finish it, so.
I want you to be very accurate with me, Mr. Campos. So you were asked to leave the club, and you didn't leave right away? Is that what happened?
Right.
Okay. And you must have said to somebody in authority, some security person, when I finish my drink, I'll leave?
Yes.
I'm speculating, but I want you to tell me what happened, sir.
So I'm trying to finish my drink. He said, you got to leave now. I said, okay, let me finish my drink. He said, no, you're leaving now. So he pushes the drink out of my hand. It breaks, pushes me out.
Okay. So that's not just pushing you out because the club is closing. You had a confrontation with a security person inside.
Right.
And they pushed the drink out of your hand. The drink fell, and then they pushed you outside.
Correct.
Where was your sister at that time?
She was getting us food. So she was in that same lobby area.
Okay. And so now the security guard pushed you out, so you're out ahead of your sister.
Correct.
How many guards pushed you out?
1.
Who? You don't know?
His name. No.
And it's not this gentleman?
No.
Were you there that night?
Yes, Judge.
And it wasn't this gentleman? No. Okay. Do you know who that was?
Yes.
Who?
A guard named Dave.
Where is he?
He's not here today.
So Dave pushed you outside. Did you see that?
Yes, I was outside when he was brought out.
Explain to me how he was brought out.
Dave was holding on to this gentleman, and 2 other guards were with him as they escorted him out to the outside and asked me to remove him from the area because he refused to leave and was demanding another drink.
Because they had spilled his drink.
He was demanding another drink, and they took that drink, apparently, I found out later, and removed him and brought him outside.
No, that's not what happened. No, that's not what happened.
Okay.
And since Dave isn't here, you can't even suggest to me that's what happened because you weren't there. What he says was, he said, when I finished my drink, and Dave said to him, you're finished with your drink. And he said, I'm going to finish my drink. And the drink got spilled, and that's what caused the trouble. So now you're outside. Was it just Mr. who was with you, or are there other security guards there as well?
There were others around outside, yes.
So it was just Mr. that was bringing you out?
Correct.
How was he bringing you outside?
He, grabbed me by the neck, pushing me with one hand, pushing me on the neck with another hand.
Okay. What happened when you got outside?
Got outside. I was very upset the way he treated me. We exchanged curse words toward each other. It was like a quick conversation because immediately he walked over to a group of security guards over next to where the parking lot is, right next to the club. And he said some words that I couldn't hear. It was kind of whispering or, face to face, and there were a lot of people around. And then that's when the next kind of phase happened.
Well, tell me about the next phase.
Once I was coming around toward the corner of J Street and 16th, I was walking.
So you were leaving the club?
Yes. Now we're holding our food, walking away. My sister comes right behind me.
So at some point, your sister caught up with you because she was
right
buying
behind
the food.
Correct.
And she got close enough to you to hand you a burrito.
Correct.
Is that correct?
No.
Not correct?
No.
Okay. And you saw the whole thing?
Yes, I was out in the parking lot.
You were out
Yes,
in the
ma'am.
parking lot?
Yes.
So I want you to tell me how he got the burrito.
As we were walking through the parking lot, he kept wanting to go back into the club and have a conversation with the other security officer. Kept calling him names and how he was going to physically hurt him. Dave.
Right.
Yes, ma'am. And we walked down the parking lot, telling him, no, it's time to go, time to go. And we were shaking our pepper because he kept advancing us that he was going to hurt us. And was like, no, sir, you need to go.
You're not answering my question. My question is, when did his sister, who had purchased the food, give him the burrito?
After I had sprayed her, apparently.
After what?
After I had sprayed her with pepper spray.
After you sprayed her, she handed him a burrito?
She'd had the burrito in her hands, so that's the only time I could see that she would have gave it to him was when
So the answer is you don't know?
I don't know, ma'am.
Then say I don't know.
I don't know.
Perfect. Do you know?
Yes, ma'am.
Your last name is?
Macom, M-A-C-O-M.
Go ahead.
What happened, Mr. Vallis and I work together, and you got to understand when we're out in
I don't
front
have to
of-
understand anything. I asked you a simple question.
The burrito was given when he first came up. He said he didn't want to leave. I told him, get off the property now. She came up. Val had told her to get him off the property. She handed him the food and stuff. They started walking. As soon as we passed the police officers, then the verbal confrontation started.
Just a second. So they were walking away from the club.
Yes, ma'am.
And what happened when they were walking away from the club? Now they're leaving. Situation has been diffused. Sticks and stones will break my bones. They're leaving. Keep going.
The verbal confrontation started.
What verbal confrontation?
The continuous, I'm going to kick your F you. So we just followed at a distance. We were shaking our cans, saying, please leave. Knocked
They
it
were
off.
leaving. Listen to me. They were leaving. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
So what you follow before shaking your cans? Because they were calling your names?
No, ma'am. He was calling everybody names.
Because he was calling whoever was in earshot names. They were leaving, walking away with their food in their hands. Why were you following them?
To ensure that it did not escalate, ma'am.
It wasn't
With other
escalating
patrons.
if you weren't there. Do you understand that? It wasn't going to escalate if you weren't there. You following me?
Yes, ma'am.
Sit down. Now, Mr. Villa. So now he's outside and she's outside, and before you pepper spray her, she hands him the food and they're walking away. Unless you're calling him a liar, is that what happened?
Yes, ma'am.
So what happened?
We were in the parking lot, and he kept wanting to go back to the club.
No, that's not what he said. Then he's a liar. He's calling people names and he's yelling and he's angry, but he's walking away according to your coworker. So are you calling him a liar?
No, ma'am.
Well, either he's a liar or you're a liar. Which one is it? Because he didn't say he was going back to the club. He said he was walking away.
He was back.
So he was walking away, cursing, but walking away with his sister. So which one is it? Was he walking away or was he walking back to the club?
He was backing away, walking backwards away from the club across the parking lot, ma'am.
So he's backing away and you're following him.
At a distance, ma'am, yes.
You're following him.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
So we're walking away, asking him to vacate as we're asking everybody else to
That's
leave
where
the
he's
club.
going. He's
Yes.
leaving. He's in the parking lot, walking towards a car.
And his sister walks up beside me, asked me what we're doing. I said, we
You mean
need
she
him to leave.
comes back?
She comes walking up beside me from
Well,
behind me.
if they were leaving and walking together with her brother, and you're following them to the parking lot.
She had separated away from her brother
Yes. At
And-
what point did she separate away from her brother?
as we were walking across the parking lot.
She veered off.
Yes.
And who was with her brother?
He was by himself.
Go ahead.
And as she walked back up beside me, she asked what we were doing, and I said, we were asking your brother to leave. Please get him to leave the parking lot.
He was leaving. You think I believe you? I don't believe you. I don't believe you.
Okay.
You may have had what you considered an unruly patron, but you don't know what went on inside. He tells me what went on inside, which sounds pretty reasonable. He was told to put down his drink. It was time to leave the club. He said, when I'm finished with my drink, I'll leave. And David said, put down your drink, you're leaving. So that's what he says, which I must believe because I don't have David here. And when you got outside, he was very belligerent. You were belligerent. Oh, yeah, I'd believe that you were cursing and that you were not behaving like a reasonable person, right? What doesn't make sense to me is why you and your cohorts followed him out to the parking lot, unless he just ticked you off with his bad language. And bad language does not require pepper spray, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Now, you want to tell me what you allege she did to you to require you to use what I perceive to be force with regard to her? What did she do to you?
She stepped up in front of me. She pushed me back with her hands. She had food in her mouth and spit food out, and when she went to slap me, that's when I reacted and blocked her from slapping me, and I pepper sprayed.
I don't believe you. How long have you been in the security business?
Since 2006.
Well, if you've been in the security business for just a short time, I'm going to give you some advice. What did you do before you went into the security business?
I worked for the state of California.
As what?
As a correctional officer.
Well, then you had a short fuse. Did you retire from that job?
Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes when you're dealing with unruly prisoners, which is supposed to diffuse the situation as best you can, but he's not an unruly prisoner. He's a patron in a bar. And you're not supposed to walk around and show your muscle. What you're supposed to do is try to diffuse the situation as best you can. This situation could have been easily diffused by just watching them get into a car and leave, which is where they were going. They were going there, according to you and according to him and according to logic. He was going with a lot of foul language. But that doesn't hurt you, and it doesn't hurt anybody in the bar, right? It may hurt their feelings, but it doesn't hurt them and doesn't require use of the kind of force that you used that day, which was to pepper spray her. I don't believe she went to hit you. Charging for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500 as requested, that's all.
John White says co-worker Toriano Harris owes for injuring his eye. John says Toriano ripped his cornea when he tackled him at a party.
According to your complaint, sir, you were at a New Year's Eve party. Yes. Mr. Harris was at the same New Year's Eve party, and you claimed that he was pretty drunk, and while not intentionally, while horsing around, he seriously injured your eye.
True.
Mr. Harris says everybody was sort of fooling around and butting each other. He didn't injure you, you were just fine. And he questions whether or not he exacerbated this pre-existing eye injury that you had.
Right.
What time did you get to the party?
Probably around 12:30.
Who did you go with?
Kathy.
Where had you been before?
At another party.
Who was driving?
I was.
Were you drinking?
Yeah.
How come you were drinking and driving?
And got caught up in the celebrations.
Was she drinking?
No.
Why didn't you let her drive?
Wasn't thinking at the time.
How much had you been drinking?
A couple cups of champagne, maybe.
Whose party was this that you arrived at 12:30?
Another co-worker's, another friend.
What time did you arrive at the party?
It was a little before 12, about 11:30.
Where had you been previous to 11:30?
I live across the street, so I walked across the street to the party.
So you hadn't had any alcohol before 11:30?
Nope. Ma'am.
And what were you drinking between 11:30 and 12:30?
Had about 2 beers.
Who did you come to the party with?
By myself.
Were you by yourself the beginning part of the evening?
Yes, I was.
That sounds pretty lonely on a New Year's Eve, Mr. Harris.
Well, I had just got off work, and then I went home and found out it was a party across the street, and it was somebody who I work with. So I was invited, so I walked across the street.
Okay, so now that we've laid the foundation of this evening, you were there by yourself, you had a date, you arrived at 12:30, you arrived at 11:30, you were sober as a judge.
Yes, ma'am.
Before 11:30, after that you had a couple of beers.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me what happened at 12:30 when you arrived, Mr. White.
I came in the house, I mingled a little bit, had some more drinks. Probably 45 minutes to an hour after that time of mingling. Mr. Harris here was just a little bit out of control. He was obviously way drunker than he said he was. He was so out of control that me and some of the other guests removed ourselves from the living room of the party to like the front porch, patio type area, holding the door, keeping him from coming in. He eventually got up there on the patio where he continued his behaviors.
Describe his behavior to me, please.
Out of control is the only word I can use. He jumping around, spitting liquor at us, loud, screaming. He got down into like a football stance and just rushed me.
Describe that to me. Show me. What's a football stance?
Out here?
Yeah.
A football stance.
Okay, that kind of, okay. All right.
Brushed my legs, grabbed me by the legs, and I don't know if he was trying to put me in a wrestling move or just whatever, but as I was going down, his head hit my eye, causing the stitches that I had from a previous surgery to bust. And
What kind of surgery had you had on your eye?
I had a cornea transplant.
When?
September 20th.
You have the medical records for me?
Yes.
I'd like to see them, please. That's the injury that you're talking about, being bumped in the head by him and the
Yes.
stitches coming apart.
As
Did you
I-
go to the emergency room that day?
Yes, I did.
Who took you?
My friend here, Kathy. I actually went home to, went back to
Kathy,
the
you have a
hospital.
last name.
Smith.
You took him to the emergency room?
Yes.
Immediately after being bumped in the head, did you leave the party?
Well, after I got hit in the eye, like I say, he took me to the ground. I think that was the initial impact. And once I was on the ground, he went for probably a headlock and came across my eye again, taking me back to the ground as I was getting up. And at that point, it was when I crawled to the bathroom, tried to wipe the little blood that I did have, and then I left the party.
How many surgeries did you have subsequent to this incident?
3.
Were you scheduled to have any other surgeries after
No.
the initial corneal transplant?
Right. I was doing.
You were doing
it was in
fine.
the period of my recovery process.
Okay, Mr. Harris, I'm going to hear you, sir.
We was at the party. We had a couple drinks. I had a couple drinks. I knew he was already there, and he was already drinking because I can already tell the way he was talking.
You arrived first.
No, he arrived first.
No, you arrived first. You said you arrived at 11:30. They didn't arrive until 12:30.
No, he was there first before me.
Okay, keep going.
I already knew that he had been drinking because the way the slur of his speech he was talking. As the struck clock to 12, we all just was having fun. It was party, horse playing, high five. We bumped chests. Then all of a sudden, a buddy of mine had picked me up. I'm looking around like, what's going on? You know what I'm saying? So then all of a sudden, he grabbed me. So when he grabbed me, I broke him off of me. And then he fell to the ground, I guess injuring his eye then. He was the aggressor. I wasn't the aggressor. He put his hands on me first.
Did you see what happened?
No, he did. I was in the other room. I'm the one that just witnessed.
Tell me your name, sir.
My name is Brian Dukes.
Do you know both of these gentlemen?
Yes, ma'am.
How long have you known them?
About 3 years.
Both?
Yes.
Both nice people?
Yes, yes.
Okay. What time did you arrive at the party that night?
It was after midnight.
Were you out on the porch when this incident
Yes,
occurred?
ma'am.
Tell me what you saw, please.
I'm pretty much a witness to his pretty much out of control behaviors, Mr. Harris. He pretty, like Mr. White here said, he did get down, crouch down in the football stands, and did attack Mr. White here.
Just describe to me what you saw. He got down in a football stance.
Football stands. Then he just rushed him, just grabbed his legs and took him down to the ground.
Did you assist him in cleaning up his eye?
No, ma'am.
You were just a guest at the party?
Yes.
Did you come with an escort?
No, ma'am.
Were you the only one with a date that night?
No. No.
Okay. I read your complaint that you had a video.
Yes.
Somebody was taking pictures of that
The
evening.
homeowner of the party actually was recording the whole incident.
I'd like to see it, please. Mr. Dukes, you can have a seat, sir.
Thank you.
This is the point here. This was like I say, well past 12:30. He's actually finna start spitting liquor at us. You can't hear it, but he's screaming, yelling, profanity, whatnot. This in the background. This the patio. Now this the patio area here where we at. That's the homeowner's friend, telling him that he needs to go, but he's not hearing anything. That's the charge. Right there, you can see me holding my eye as I'm going back. And he jumps on me again. I'm trying to get up now. I brought back down. At this point here, this is where I told him, I didn't use these words, but you just messed my eye up. And he was like, all right, get up, I got you. I'm crawling off into the bathroom now. As he comes back out, he attempts to do this again, but he will stop. This was a separate person here, separate incident. And so that's the homeowner there. At this point, she was just really fed up with him. That's him hitting the door, banging on her front door, glass door.
What you're supposed to say, Mr. Harris, is, I drank too much, I was an idiot. I'm sorry I hurt you, and I'm going to pay your bills. You're not supposed to make excuses, sir. Have you seen this video before?
No.
You've never seen it before?
Never seen it
Why
before.
didn't you show him this video before? Maybe he would understand the nature of his actions.
In this process, I've reached out to him twice, not asking him to pay the bills, just to help me. Like I said, we have been friends for some time. I knew that he didn't just have this money in his pocket, but if he would have just assisted, no, I don't. But if he had just assisted with the help, we probably wouldn't be here.
I'm waiting.
If he knew that his eye was messed up, why would he come to a party and have fun anyway? I mean, but you know, sometimes when you're at a party, everybody get, you know, everybody horseplay. At least they do where I'm from.
You want to take this one, or what do you want me to do?
I don't know. There are good questions and there are bad questions. That's a bad question.
You know that if you have some delicate surgery, the chances of that surgery becoming infected, inflamed, that can become dislodged, that happens. Is what you're suggesting, sir, that if you have this kind of surgery, you stay in your room? You work at a place where I assume sometimes it gets physical.
Exactly.
Is that right?
Yes.
That's his job. So he has to go to work. And you take care as best as you can to make sure that the people that you're working with don't hurt you, don't exacerbate a condition that already exists. When you go to a New Year's Eve party, you expect to have a little bit of alcohol, sometimes, and sometimes you even expect people to act stupid. You don't expect them to act very stupid. And when you act very stupid, Mr. Harris, and you hurt somebody, you have to be responsible and pay for it, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Let me ask you this question, sir. You live across the street from this party.
Yes, ma'am.
You were pretty drunk.
Yes, ma'am.
Let me give you this scenario. You're walking back to your house and you're pretty drunk and you're not looking where you were going. And a car is coming down the street. They're perfectly fine. Nobody's drinking in that car. They're driving. But you dart out into the middle of the street and that car swerves to avoid you. And the people in that car are seriously injured because they hit a tree. Are you going to tell me that you think on New Year's Eve people shouldn't drive their cars because drunks sometimes walk in the middle of the road? That's the same kind of philosophy that you're trying to sell me when you say, listen, when you go to a New Year's Eve party, everybody gets drunk and they horse around. You can horse around without being an idiot. Would you like to show your boss that video?
I don't want to show nobody the video.
Well, you should have thought of that before you came here, Mr. Harris. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Angela Ricker claims her husband's ex-wife, Sally Ricker, falsely accused her of vandalizing her car. Sally is countersuing for car damage and lost wages.
Mrs. Ricker, this lady is your husband's, I assume this is your husband?
Yes.
Your husband's former wife?
Yes.
And it is your claim that she has been harassing you, that
Yes.
she's filed false charges against you,
Absolutely.
seeking a temporary restraining order, and you are seeking damages.
Absolutely.
The former Mrs. Ricker says that everything that she said in her application for a restraining order is true. She is counterclaiming for harassment and for vandalism that she alleges you did to her car. So, how long were you married to Mr. Ricker?
12 years.
You have children?
We have 3 children.
How old are they?
14, 12, and 7.
When were you divorced?
Our paperwork went through in 2005, but I left in 2002.
And when did you marry?
2 years ago, March 29th.
Do you have children?
No, we do not.
On what date was this restraining order filed?
I believe it was the 20th
of
March. The alleged incident was on the 17th, which would have been St. Patrick's Day.
Okay, I'm going to start with you. Tell me your first name.
Sally.
So that we can differentiate between the Mrs. Rickers. You're Sally. Tell me what happened on March 17th.
On March 17th, I was at an establishment near where I work. My car was parked.
What
in the parking lot.
establishment were you near where you worked?
I was at a nail salon called Tammy's Salon.
Okay.
And I'm looking out the window. I happen to look out and I see both Tyler and Angela drive up, and I'm
What
shocked.
time?
It was about 2:30. I saw Tyler get out of the car, and then I saw Angela get out of the passenger side door, and together they hurriedly sort of walked into my place of employment.
What is the name of your place of employment?
I work at Trader Joe's. I happened to be off this day.
So you were off on March 17th?
I was.
How far is your place of employment from where you live?
4 miles across town.
Did you have an appointment for your nails?
No.
What was the name of the person who did your nails?
You know, I'm sorry, I don't know. She's an Asian woman, and I don't know her name.
Does she usually do your nails?
No, I walk in.
So you don't go to any particular person?
Not at that place, no.
Is there any reason why you went to that place on that day, despite the fact that you weren't working that day?
I had some time to myself as I'm still parenting my 3 children. I don't get a lot of time away.
Yeah, but this place is cross town. Why would you go cross town unless you have a particular nail lady who does your nails and
Well,
had an
it's
appointment rather
inexpensive.
than walking into some place that's closer and not cross town?
Well, it's inexpensive. I had a few hours to go do my nails and get some groceries.
Where were you getting your groceries?
At Trader Joe's.
Did you actually go into Trader Joe's?
No, I decided not to go in.
Go ahead, Sally.
So?
Go ahead. I'm listening. So they went into Trader Joe's, and you were having your nails done by a person whose name you don't know, and you just happened to be looking out the window. Let me hear the rest.
Yes, so they continued to walk in, and they asked for me while they were in the store. And
How do you know that?
Because I had a conversation with my son. I called my son after I saw them.
Just a second. You called your son where?
I called my son from my cell phone.
And where was he?
He was at his grandmother's house. And I asked them if he had heard from his dad that day, because we haven't heard or seen from Tyler in 9 months. And so I called my son to see if he had heard from his dad this day, to find out why he would be in town. And he said, yes, he was there with Angela, and they were looking for you at the store.
What's your son's name?
My son's name is Aaron.
How old is he?
He's 14.
Stand up, sir. Did you call your son that day, Mr. Richter?
I did.
Where did you reach him?
I
on his
reached
cell
him
phone?
Yes, on his cell phone. He was at my parents' house.
At your parents' house?
Yes.
And did you ask him where his mother was?
I asked if his mother was at work.
Why?
Because I had part of his birthday present to give to him.
Which part?
A credit card that had come in the mail after his birthday.
Did you see him that day?
No, I did not.
Why not?
Because he was at my parents' house.
Are you not allowed to be there?
It's not a comfortable place for me to be, but I'm allowed to be there.
Well, if you wanted to give him a credit card, why did you ask where his mother was?
I was going to give it to her if she was there.
So did you end up giving him his birthday present?
I did not.
Why not?
I was told she was not there.
Did you go into Trader Vic's?
Trader Joe's?
Trader
yes.
Joe's?
Yes, I did go into Trader Joe's.
Trader Joe's, Trader. What?
Had a cup of coffee, and my wife and I did a little bit of shopping.
On the 17th of March, how long had it been since you'd seen your son?
I had seen him on his birthday, which was 1 month prior to that.
Where did you see him?
I saw him in Pleasanton at his mother's house.
Spent some time with him?
Yeah.
Why did you say he hadn't seen the children for 9 months?
Prior to that, Tyler had left Angela.
Listen to me. You told me that he hadn't seen the children for 9 months. He
Right.
said he saw his son in February, a month before, well, which is true.
He did not come to our house.
I didn't care whether he came to your house or not. I don't care whether he saw the children at McDonald's. Did he see his son in February?
He did not see his son on his birthday.
I asked you a question. Did he see his son in February?
He did not see his son on his birthday.
Did he see his son in February of 2007?
He did not see his son on February 15th.
I didn't ask you about February 15th. I said, did he see his son in February?
No, he did not see his son in February.
I don't believe you.
He saw his son on March 28th when he left his wife Angela and came into town for a few days.
Are you on medication?
No, I am not.
There is no question in my mind that he saw his son in February, a month before the March incident. So when I asked you the question 4 times, you gave me an evasive answer. 4 times. Now I'm asking you one more time. It's very easy for me to find out. All I have to do is call Aaron. Did he see Aaron in February, anywhere, at any time during the month of February of 2007?
I'm telling you that he did not see his son in February. I would have known that because we were together. If he saw his son, it could have been at school.
Where did you see him in February?
I saw him the weekend before his birthday. I had a hotel room in Pleasanton at Extended Stay Hotels. His mother dropped them off there, all 3 of my children.
All 3 children?
Yes, they stayed with me for the entire weekend, including Monday, which was a holiday. I saw them later at her house in February.
Of 2007.
And I was there on his birthday.
February 2007.
Yes.
Let's go, Sally.
That is not true.
That
is not true.
Just a second. You want me to call Aaron? Very simple to find out. He has a cell phone?
Yes, he does.
You want to change your mind before I call him on his cell phone? Do you want to change your mind before I call him on his cell phone? I hate to get him involved in this, but I'm prepared to do it because it's very important to me.
it's important to me to be able to speak as well. So
I asked you a question. Did he see his children in February of 2007? And I'm
Yes.
going to be able to
Yes.
find that out either through you or through Aaron, who I will reach on his cell phone.
On February 27th, yes. In February, Tyler saw Aaron.
Fine. Okay, now you're going to tell me that you saw Angela vandalize your car.
Yes, I did.
Is that you're going to continue? Let's go.
So on the way back out to the car, I was watching Angela as she had circled my car, and she started by standing and waiting for me, and then I saw her come around all 4 circles of my car with sort of a dragging movement with her arms swiping. And when I saw her out there, I had no idea what she could have been doing to my car. I knew that she may have been...
Don't tell me what you thought. I don't care what you thought. Okay. You have pictures of your car and you have a police report.
I do.
I'd like to see it, please.
These are the 2 that printed out. And then this is the police report. It spans all 4 doors of my car. Unfortunately, there are only 2 pictures that showed up.
Did you scratch our car?
No, I did not.
Tell me what happened when you left Trader Joe's.
We got into the car and we went home. We were going to my grandmother's. When I go from San Leandro to Stockton, where my family is, we usually stop at that Trader Joe's. It's right off the highway. It's very convenient for me. After all of this happened, it ruined my trip and I went home. I was devastated. I was very angry.
What do you mean after all of this happened?
Well, she told Erin on the phone that I had done this to her car, you know, involved a 14-year-old in this. It just really, it hit. And then when I got accused of this and a police report was put out, brought into court.
Can I see the underlying paperwork, please?
Yes,
that
ma'am.
went along with her application for a restraining order?
Yes, ma'am. Since we've established that, most of that is fallacious. It's false. There's nothing about bipolarity nor schizophrenia.
Okay. And in your application for an order of protection, which is, I assume, written in your own hand, you say Angela came to my place of work unannounced, and she later called my son and verbally abused him. Did you speak to Aaron later?
I did speak to Aaron.
Tell me what happened when you spoke to him.
I spoke to him and I asked him why he was saying those things to
Saying
his
what
father.
things?
That I had vandalized the car, that I'd gone into her work looking for her, harassing, stalking, using those words. Aaron and I have never had any problems. I haven't seen the children in almost a year because of this behavior. I've refused to allow them in my home when I'm there.
Why?
Because of her. She debriefs them every time they go home. It's a drama from Friday to Sunday. Phone calls, it's just never a drop-off pickup. It's always something, and I couldn't handle it. Our marriage has been in jeopardy for almost 2 years because of this.
In your application for a restraining order,
Yes.
you say Angela is explosive
Yes.
and goes on and off her medication for schizophrenia and bipolar illness.
That's according to my ex-husband.
Did you ever tell her that?
Absolutely not.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
When did he tell you that she was bipolar and schizophrenic?
When he left her in February, it was February 27th, he left because they were having a domestic dispute.
Okay, so he left
And
in February.
In February, yes.
Go ahead.
I know I won't live that one down. I'm sorry.
You won't?
I know. I'm sorry. So, anyway, his brother brought him into town. He didn't have any money. He didn't have a job. Nothing. Brought him into town. He said he wanted to see the kids. And from that point, he had not seen the kids for 9 months. Okay?
So why would you tell me that he didn't see the children in February when he did?
Well, no, because I'm sorry, I'm really nervous today. I'm very, very sorry.
Nervous is not an answer, madam. You told me a very cogent story about everything that you allegedly saw with regard to this lady, how she stalked your car, how she bent down, how she had sweeping motions. But when I asked you a question a half a dozen times, you refused to give me an honest answer about when your husband last saw his children.
He wasn't at my house on February 15th, which was Aaron's
I didn't ask you anything about February 15th. I didn't even know when Aaron's birthday was.
Okay.
I asked you February. You said 9 months. He said February. It wasn't until I was planning to call Aaron and find out whether he had seen his father in February that you finally said he saw him in February. Do you understand that that gives me cause to pause?
Yes.
Well, it does. Do you take medication?
No, ma'am.
You ever been diagnosed as schizophrenic?
No, ma'am.
Bipolar?
No, ma'am. Your Honor, It was not February 27th that we separated. It was the beginning of the month. He was in Point Reyes. He decided to stay there with a friend at a bed and breakfast to do some work on the home. He was at her house. He called me from her house.
I understand that.
Angela Ricker says her husband's ex-wife, Sally Ricker, falsely accused her of vandalism.
Now, you let him stay with your children? The answer is either yes or no.
Yes.
Have your children spent time with the plaintiff in her home?
Yes, they have.
And they've come home in one piece?
Basically.
Not for a year.
Shh. Others to be protected. Absolutely. Angela has no discretion when she is angry. My children should never be anywhere near this person.
They have a history of domestic violence.
Was there a history of domestic violence with you?
I left.
That's just a second. That's either a yes or a no.
Yes.
So there was a history of domestic violence with you?
With my husband.
So, I got it. And you allowed that situation to go on more than once?
Yes.
You allowed your children to remain in a situation where there was domestic violence?
I left that
You let it go
situation.
on for a long time? Do you understand, Mrs. Richter? Do you have a full-time job?
I do.
How long have you been working for the same place?
This job I have currently is 4 months.
Do you have a significant other or a husband?
No, I do not.
Are you working? Take your hands out of your pockets.
Not right now, no.
Why not? Is not an answer.
I had a job up until April 1st working on airplanes. I was let go from that job.
Up until April 1st, were you paying child support?
I was.
How much?
$411 a month was taken from my checks.
How long had you been paying the $411?
Only for a month at that point, and then there was a large gap between that point and the last time I held a job.
Well, Mr. Richter, that's unacceptable, sir.
I understand that.
Very unacceptable. No, not
I'm
unacceptable.
injured, Your Honor. I'm injured.
Very unacceptable, sir.
I do understand that. I was injured at my last job,
Yeah?
and the injury prevented me from working.
What was the last job?
The last job was working for Vortex Stores,
Yeah?
and
What year?
from June to August of 2006.
Well, that's a couple of months, sir.
I understand that. I was injured. I had a severe back injury.
So that you were out of work for 2 months.
I was out of work until I got a job in March of 2007.
Who supports you?
Workman's Comp was supposed to be, but the company that hired me is fighting all of that, and so Workman's Comp did not pay my payments. That's currently
So you've been
in
separated.
litigation.
You've been separated from your former wife since 2002.
Since 2002.
Since 2002, until you were injured. Just listen to me carefully. Until you were injured in June of 2006, were you regularly paying child support?
I was. I regularly paid child support when I had a job.
That's not my question. Don't play with me.
Oh, I'm not
You two
playing
people
with you, Your
deserve
Honor.
each other. You two people deserve each other. Not when you were working. How old are you?
I'm 40.
You have 3 children.
I understand
There is
that.
no question that you have to be employed regularly. And I don't care whether you work at McDonald's or if you don't have another job, if you work at a car wash, drying cars, if you can't do something else. You have 3 children. No wonder she's furious with you. You work?
Yes, I do.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a registered nurse.
So you earn a reasonable living?
Yes, I do.
So you support the family?
Yes, I do.
Right. No wonder she's furious with you. Collect cans if you have to, but you send money. And if she's angry with you, unfortunately, she took it out on the wrong person. Because I don't believe you, madam, that you saw her vandalize your car. I don't believe you. The case was dismissed, was it not?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, did anybody else ask you the questions that I asked you about the name of this person who did your nails, why you traveled cross town to get your nails done? Was the person who tried this case?
No, he did not.
He did not.
No.
Because he doesn't understand that you don't travel cross town to just walk into a nail salon. You can walk into a nail salon anywhere. You don't have to travel 4 miles cross town to do that. A lot of baloney. I don't believe you. I believe that you're angry with him. And I believe that you're angry with her because she's an enabler, because she's working. He's not, at least on the books anywhere, and he's not paying support. I got that you're angry. But you can't do this. This is nonsense. And I don't believe you.
Well, I saw it happen.
No, it didn't. I think that you probably even scratched your own car. But I don't believe that she scratched your car. I don't believe that this professional woman scratched your car.
I wouldn't have done that to
No
my car.
way. No way. And when you lie to me once, I don't believe you again. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. Start working, sir. That's what you're supposed to do. The counterclaim's dismissed. That's all.
is suing her ex-boyfriend, 24-year-old Christopher Peterson, for a bounced rent check and the resulting fees.
Miss Davis, you and Mr. Peterson lived together for a period of time. He was your boyfriend. Your financial arrangement was that you would give him your half of the rent check, he would put in his half of the rent and pay the landlord. But according to you, you gave him your half of the rent for October of 2006. You had an argument somewhere the beginning of October where you called the police and had him removed from the house. And he left. He left and he closed the bank account on which this check was drawn, so the check bounced. You remained in the apartment and were forced, according to you, to pay the entire rent, including his half of the rent. Mr. Peterson says, through really no fault of his own, you weren't getting along, you'd had an argument, you went to the police, you had him removed, he wasn't living there, he doesn't have to pay rent, right?
That's right.
So, Miss Davis, when did you move in together?
May of 05.
And when did this incident occur? October of 06?
Yes.
What day in October?
October 9th, I believe.
Is that right?
That's wrong.
What date?
October 6th.
Now, Miss Davis, you're going to tell me exactly what happened on October the 6th.
On October the 6th, Mr. Peterson went out to my car without my permission, went into my car, grabbed a pack of cigarettes out of my car for himself and one for me as well. I did not ask him to do this. He did not have permission to go out to my car. When he came back and I discovered that he had taken a pack for himself as well, I was a little upset. And I confronted him on it and he lied to me.
What did you say?
I asked him if he had taken the pack, why he had taken it without asking me. And he said that he never took a pack and called me a liar. When I confronted him on it and he lied to me yet again, I got upset and basically told him I was done with the lies in the relationship. And when I told him I was done with the relationship, he didn't take that kindly. He said he was not going to give up on the relationship, that he was not going to leave, he wasn't going to give up on us. And when I told him that he did not have a choice, because I was done, he started punching himself in the face.
Show me how he did that.
He was pacing back and forth in the room that we were talking in and just started pounding on himself.
So?
I got scared and I went over to my friend's house.
Okay, he didn't touch you, he didn't put his hands on you?
No.
Okay, so you left and you went to your friend's house?
Yes.
And?
And the next morning, I was afraid to go home, so I went to the police.
What'd you go to the police for? To take you home?
I did not feel safe to go home with the state of mind that he was in.
Okay, so what did you want the police to do?
To remove him.
Why?
So that I could go home.
Well, it was his home too.
But I was not safe in my own home.
But it was his home.
It was his home too, yes.
So if you're not safe, he hasn't done anything to threaten you. He hasn't done anything to harm you. He hasn't put his hands on you. If anything, he was, according to you, he was hurting himself. He was acting, in a self-destructive way. So if you felt unsafe because you didn't like his mental state, why didn't you just leave?
I didn't feel I should have to pack up everything in the apartment that was mine and leave because he was unstable.
Can I see what you told the police, please?
I filed for an order of protection. I didn't have a police report.
What did you say in the report that gave you an order of protection?
I told them exactly what happened.
No, I can't believe anybody issued you an order of protection based on that. Oh, you lied.
No.
Oh, yes, you did.
No.
You said to the police the reason that you were coming to ask for assistance is because he physically threatened you by raising an object over his head to throw it at you and yelled and screamed and called her names.
He had done this prior to this date.
Evicted from the house. You had reason to leave yourself if you wanted to leave, but you had no reason to force him out of the house. None whatsoever. Okay. Mr. Peterson, you want to tell me your version of the events? What happened? First of all, I don't understand this business about going out. You live together, you're sharing a house, you're sharing a bedroom, you have an intimate relationship, and she gets upset because you went out and took 2 packs of cigarettes instead of 1. Did you go out to the car to get a pack of cigarettes for her?
I went out to the car to grab a pack of cigarettes for her. I asked her that night, and she said yes.
He'd never
No, don't speak now. Don't speak. You have to be quiet. Because it's his turn to testify. Did you see how quiet he was when you were testifying? Now it's his turn.
I asked her permission the night before to grab a pack of cigarettes.
Are you on some sort of medication? Listen to me, Miss Davis. Are you on medication?
No.
Then I can speak to you frankly. I said it once. When you were testifying, he was quiet. He didn't interrupt. Now it's your turn to be quiet and allow me to take his testimony. Do I make myself clear?
Yes.
Good.
The night before, I did ask permission to go to her car and get a pack of cigarettes for myself. She was okay with that.
I don't understand why there was this whole big hullabaloo because of the cigarettes, so it must have been something else fomenting in the relationship for a while.
It was because I was also unemployed for at least 3 weeks, and she
was annoyed because you weren't working and weren't buying the cigarettes.
That's correct.
Gotcha. Okay. So what happened when you came inside, Mr. Peterson?
What happened was I came inside. I went to try to get into my bedroom. She had the master bedroom door blocked. I don't know why she had it all blocked, but after an hour and a half, 2 hours later, she had the door open. There was this mysterious odor in the air, as if she was smoking something funky.
Mr. Peterson, did you at any time on the 6th of October threaten Miss Davis?
No.
Did you at any time on the 6th of October pick up an object to throw at her?
No.
Had that ever happened in the past?
No.
Did she give you her half of the rent?
Yes, she did.
For October?
Yes, she did.
And you didn't pay any of the rent?
I did pay the rent. I had my half in my checking account. She gave me her half. When I closed out my checking account, I made sure that all the money was still in the account.
Okay. How much out of pocket are you, Miss Davis?
I'm out $914.
From what?
I gave him $467, plus his half of the rent, plus the late fees and the non-sufficient
His half of the rent he's not giving you.
He's still on the lease.
I don't care whether